Good morning, guys. I just wanted to talk to you today about pepper plants and how I grow peppers from seed. What I do is they're getting bigger when I transplant them, when I put them in the ground, and what I feed them. So I figured I would share that all with you right now. Okay, so you can see I've got quite a bit of plants here on my little table. If you look in these little trays, these are just seed trays. You can use any kind of little seedling trays, but this is what I use. Any kind of seed starting mix will work just fine. So what I do is I just fill this up. I put my seeds in the soil about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch deep. Not very deep for seeds. I think it's 1/4 of an inch deep actually. And I do bottom watering, and then they just start popping up just like this. This is a new seedling with no other leaves on it, just the seedling leaves. These are ghost peppers. This one is a peach ghost pepper. This is a chocolate ghost pepper, a little bit bigger. It came up first. As they grow in the little pots, they'll start growing more leaves on them like these. These are Carolina Reapers. They're pretty small seedlings, so that's why they look smaller than the others, but they have more true leaves on them. And when they start having about their first 2 true leaves, so not their seedling leaves like this one, but they have 2 more leaves above their seedling leaves. At that point, I feel safe to go ahead and transplant them, and I put them in their own individual little pots like this. There's some weeds in there and growing up. That looks like another pepper that sprouted late, so I'm going to leave that in there, but this is definitely a weed. Okay, anyway, once they get those 2 true leaves on them, I feel pretty comfortable moving them to their own pot. I try to pick them up without disturbing their roots as much as possible. So usually what I do is I reach down in there and I pinch very, very deep as I can, and then I just poke a hole in one of these and put it in. And there you have it. I keep them bottom watered over here. They get part sun, part shade. Peppers like it hot. If you live somewhere else, you probably need a heat mat. I live in Southwest Florida, zone 10. I never use a heat mat. I just start my trays outside. Just like this, just being careful of rain, because rain can really kill your peppers if it's raining down on top of them. So when it rains, I make sure I protect them. So I put them in their own individual pots. They keep growing and growing and growing, and eventually they get, here you can see kind of succession, because I succession sowed these. You can see they have a couple leaves. Here's one that's a little bit bigger, more leaves on it, and here's one that's a little bit bigger, even more leaves. And so one a little bigger than this is right here, and this is about the point where I like to put them in the ground. They have at least 6 leaves on them, and what I like to do, not everybody does this, but when they get to this size, I pinch off the top. Once I get them in the ground, I pinch off the top cluster like this many, and that helps the pepper plant to start putting out more branches off to the side. It bushes out instead of growing super tall and leggy. And I do that after it gets in the ground, not before. I don't really know if it makes a big difference, but I want to make sure that the roots can have a good foundation. I put it in the ground about this size, like right now, and then I let it get established for a week or 2 in the ground and make sure it's comfortable there, and then I'll pinch it off. So let's talk about fertilizing the peppers. So this is one pepper plant. This is a ghost pepper that is red. Don't mind my grass that I can't get rid of. But it's hard to see, but here's the base of the plant. and it has these big branches, and it goes from here all the way to here. Kind of looks like a big umbrella. I did that exact thing with this plant. I pinched it off when it was little. That's the only time I do it, just once, when it has at least 6 leaves on it. And what I feed my plants is this Alaska fish fertilizer. It will say 511. I mix this up according to the directions with water in my watering can every 3 weeks, and I feed this to my peppers. And I noticed that about a week after they get this, you know, you will see lots of new leaves. They will be loaded with flowers, and then you will also get more peppers from them. So I noticed that peppers seem to be heavy feeders, and so they will like stop producing as much if I don't feed them this fish fertilizer every 3 weeks. I noticed that they really they're heavy feeders, and when they don't get it, they start getting yellowy. They don't grow they're not as green. The leaves will start getting yellowy. They won't have that many flowers, and they won't have that much fruit on them. Now, where I live, this pepper plant is over a year old. I planted this from seed last year, I believe, and I think I started it in March of last year, and it's April now of this year, so it's like just over a year old. And over the winter time, when it got colder here, it did go in kind of like a dormant period, and it just stopped producing for about 2 months. I would say January and February. But once it wasn't cold anymore, it started coming back. So, and when it did start coming back, I gave it this fish fertilizer, and it's just covered in flowers right now. You can see the buds everywhere. I think this is a happy pepper plant. So I also want to talk about spacing with peppers. I noticed with peppers, they actually like to be a little bit closer together than the packets say, for me and from other gardeners that I've watched in their experience. I believe most pepper packets will say they need 18 inches of space, but I've noticed they actually like to be close together. So I heard this from Jess on Roots and Refuge. She called it holding hands. They like to hold hands, and I think that's really cute. And so that's what I say, because it reminds me that they like to be close. So if you have 2 little peppers, you can leave them together, or you can separate them out, and it's totally up to you. And some people like to transplant theirs at this size, but and that's perfectly fine, but because of where I live, I really like to wait until they're a little bit bigger, because the sun can be really, really harsh on them in the middle of the days. So you can start peppers pretty much any time of the year where I live. They're actually a perennial here. Like I said, that one pepper plant over there is a year old. I have some banana pepper plants as well that are a year old. So basically, you can grow peppers from seed pretty much any time of the year here. I find it's best if you start them in the spring and in the fall, like around March and August is when I like to sow my pepper seeds and get them started. They're pretty slow starting off. I mean, these are like probably a month old, but once they get to about this point, they really start taking off, and they do really well. Once you get them in the ground and established, they should start producing fruits for you pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about my favorite peppers to grow, my favorite varieties. Everyone has different favorites. These are just mine. I really love banana peppers. Here's one of mine that I started from seed this year. They are my absolute favorite. They're really productive, and I love pickled. I love pickling them and having them in my salads. They're really yummy. And my kids just like to eat them right out of the jar. So I like to grow a lot of those because so far every year my kids just eat them up, and I have not been able to, get them, have enough basically for me and all my kids. Another variety that I really like, I can't pronounce it. I'll have to write the name of it in the description. My kids call it yellow pumpkin pepper because it's yellow and it's shaped like a pumpkin. But these are a sweet pepper. This one looks kind of sad because my tray with these in them got rained on really heavy, and a lot of mine died. This is actually my only one of that variety that I saved. I will probably start some more if I see that I want to grow more peppers. I might do another tray with a couple that got killed. Probably more banana peppers and more of these. But these are my favorite. They're from Hungary. They're Hungarian pepper, and they're sweet, and they have very thick, juicy walls. They're very, very flavorful, and they're just delicious. They're the tastiest sweet pepper I've ever had. They're very good. They're not super productive, in my opinion. They're slow growing, but they're really yummy. I also really like the Corbaci sweet peppers. Here's one here. These are one of my favorites to grow. My first time growing these was last fall, and they're very productive plants, very beautiful, just a slender sweet pepper. They start out yellow and they turn orange and red, and they're just really good. I always have these on the plant, so I don't have to, if like I'm waiting for my yellow pumpkin ones or my bells or anything to grow and produce, I know I always have these in the garden because they're just so full of fruits all the time. So these are one of my favorites, and you can harvest them. Sweet peppers you can harvest at any time. You can harvest them at whatever stage they're in, and they'll taste delicious. I've never had a problem. I've harvested these yellow, I've harvested these orange and red. Same with the violet sparkle. They're a sweet pepper. They are violet and they turn red when they're ripe. I've harvested them purple most times, and sometimes I waited till they were red, and they were really delicious both stages. So that's something to keep in mind. If you just are a first-time gardener and you're just starting out with peppers, you can harvest them pretty much at any stage. Just like the bells, they taste good with their green. Obviously, they're probably a little sweeter when they're fully mature, and that's fine too. But you can harvest them when they're younger, and they'll still taste very good. These are a new variety I'm growing this year, Carnival Blend. These are like a mini bell, and they come in different colors. I believe I just bought these at Walmart because I thought they were interesting. But I got really good germination. I actually over germinated them, or over sowed them. Like, I planted a whole bunch because these seeds were like 3 years old, and I just found them and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try these. And I got a lot of these peppers. So, and this guy looks sad because it was one that got hit with the rain. The soil's a little overly wet, but it'll dry out, and if I can get it to stand up, I may put a little stick in there to help him stay up until he recovers. Where I live, we get lots and lots of rain, so I have to just be aware of that. It's probably best if you can start your seeds in a porch or patio, like a covered type area, but if not, that's okay too. I just I don't have a porch where I live, and so what I do is I just bring my trays inside, or I put them on a shelf that has a covering over the top if the rain's not too bad. But sometimes we get really heavy rains, and it will just keep on raining for a really long time. Oh, I have like a pepper over there too. That's another red ghost pepper. My husband really likes making hot sauce out of the ghost peppers, so I grow those mainly for him. For me personally, I don't really like spicy peppers. I do like jalapenos. I'm growing this new variety this year, which I'm pretty excited about. It's called the Notapeno pepper. This is one right here. It's a heatless jalapeno, and I'm excited about it because my kids can eat these. I can make jalapeno poppers. I have young children, and they can eat these and not be crying about it or needing milk or anything. So it'll be gentle for my kids. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those taste. Yum. So in this garden bed, which I'm growing grass in, no, but for real, I'm redoing my garden beds, so this will be gone pretty soon. But not my pepper plant, but you can see how productive these banana peppers are. I mean, this is one plant, and this plant specifically, I remember last fall being covered in hornworms, and it lost a lot of leaves, and I had to stay proactive about picking those off, and it was nice because I could just feed them to my chickens. But it's covered in peppers. I have another one down here, which it looks a lot healthier. It's a lot greener, but it's got lots of peppers too. So these are one of my favorites, but I didn't have enough pickled this year, so I started some more. And so this one looked kind of rough. I actually neglected my poor pepper plants in the winter, and they were going dormant as well, but I neglected them, and I did not, just life happens, you know, and I did not take care of them as well as I should. But after the winter was over, I did prune them. I have a video about that already if you would like to watch it. I pruned my peppers on the bottom of the stalks, and I fed it, and it's coming back. All these peppers are new from feeding it, just 3, well, I did 2 feedings, so 6 weeks, so in 6 weeks. So the first feeding I did, and it got loads of flowers on it. The leaves started growing back. All these are new leaves on it, these darker green ones. And this is what the old leaves look like. Up here, I'll pull one off and show you. It just wasn't doing well. I wasn't taking care of it like I should. But it just got lots of new leaves and flowers, and then in 3 more weeks I fed it again. It already had some pepper starts, but these really came up within the last 3 weeks. So I really love these peppers. They're just so good. I can sit here and talk to you about peppers forever, but nobody wants to listen to that. So I also think that it's very important to stake up your peppers and support them. You can use a pole like I did. Sometimes I have to use 2 poles, like on my ghost pepper plant, which you can see over there. It has a red one and a bamboo one over there. I've seen people use the cages before, the tomato cages, and those work great as well. I just find that where I live, because they're perennials, they get so big that they're kind of too big for the cages. So I just stick with the poles, and then as they grow, I can move them around to support them best. Like as this grows, if it got heavier over here, I could just pull it out and put it there. Or if it got heavier here, I just pull it out and go put it in over there. You have to be careful though. You really want your peppers planted, staked up, because we do have some really windy days, and these aren't that sturdy. They can just topple right over. And let me show you some things that happened from the wind where I live with some of my pepper plants. So over here I have a very sad pepper plant. This is my Corbaci pepper plant. As you can see, it is dead. It's dying. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it out because there's no saving that. But that's exactly what happened with this plant, was that I didn't have a pole here. I thought it was too small, so I didn't worry about it. And the winds came in the spring. We had some pretty windy days and some stormy days in the spring here, and it just like snapped it off. This actually had another branch coming out from the side over here, and it was like a whole nother half of the plant, and it completely snapped off. And that was covered in fruits. I harvested what I could off of it. These are so small, I didn't really worry about it. And then I just left this thinking maybe it will come back. I tried to baby it, and it didn't come back. It's dead. But that's because I didn't have a support in here. But I did try to save it. You can see I put a support in after the fact, but it was too late. So that was just a gardener fail, and that happens. So I definitely recommend supporting your peppers. But that's really all that I have to say about peppers. That's pretty much it. That's all I do. Sometimes I will, go buy some Black Cow and put some around the base of my plants. Maybe like every 6 months. I don't do it a whole lot, but that really gives them a big boost as well. And that's really all I do for happy, healthy pepper plants. If you're wondering, this is just the watermelon over here. It's a Georgia rattlesnake variety, and it's just taken off. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I was helpful in gave you some new information about growing peppers. I'm pretty new to growing peppers. I've only successfully been growing them for the past, I would say, 2 years. Before that, I always had to buy starts because I could never figure it out with the seeds. Whoops, sorry. I could never figure it out with the seeds. I really noticed that bottom watering was my big issue. When I tried to top water with my sprayer, it worked okay, but I had to come out, and it dried out so quickly. I had to come out and like spray water them 2 to sometimes 3 times a day. And peppers can take up to 2 weeks to actually start that germinate. They can take a long time, and it's really hard for me to be disciplined to come out and water them 2 or 3 times a day for 2 whole weeks until I see little baby sprouts. And then you got to keep watering them. So bottom watering really was a game changer. I fill the bottom of the tray, and they just, you know, I just keep checking the tray every day or so, and filling it maybe once a day, maybe at first every couple of days, until they really start, and then you can check it every day, because as the plants get bigger they use more water. But that was really a huge game changer. That was my biggest thing that really helped me with starting peppers from seed. Other than that, where we live, it's pretty easy. I get really good germination now that I figured it out. But that's all gardening is. It's just like trial and error. So I hope this encouraged you, and I hope this helped you in some way with your peppers. Like I said, this is just what works for me. So if you have any gardening tips for peppers that you do with your plants, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to learn more things that I can do to help them be more happy and productive. And thanks for watching. See you next time.